This is Viterbi Voices, your chance to hear stories about research, classes, student life, and more.
Directly from our students, faculty, and other members of our engineering community. All right here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
Welcome back into Viterbi Voices. My name is Paul Ledesma. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Admission at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
My name is Audrey Roberts. I'm a senior studying mechanical engineering here at USC.
So that you're all aware, you may have heard that on Audrey's intro, we got a kind of a weak internet connection, so apologize for any audio issues up at the forefront of this. But hopefully it'll come across okay and you'll understand it. But Audrey's with us. We're dealing with the best situation we can right now. Of course, we're all still remote. And this episode is coming to you in real time, basically just recorded, all about going back to school. Audrey, tell us more about what this episode's about.
Yeah, so we wanted to do kind of a check-in on back to school and summing up the first week of school, because I think a lot of people are wondering, what does school look like right now? And how is it for students? So that's what this is. It's a handful of Viterbi students just chatting about how their first week went and how they're doing their online classes. Yeah,
and this is not good for anybody. No one wants any of this to happen, and everybody that's listening, high school students and other college students, everybody's dealing with a slightly different version of something that is basically not great, right? Mm-hmm. And in general, how are you doing? How is this whole thing going? I mean, you've moved back to an apartment near campus, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think now that it's August and this sort of, at least from a school perspective, started from March, there's no surprises. I don't know how to say no surprises, but I think, all of us were kind of anticipating that this is, what the situation calls for. It's not safe for us to be in large groups inside right now. So, yeah, I think it's just like crazy because all of our lives are happening at home. And I think that's hard, right, to really have, work for us, school and life, kind of all in one space. And I think from a school perspective, just, and I talked about this with a bunch of my friends, just, it's hard to like convince ourselves we're in school kind of, because, yeah, we don't have the same sort of cadence of walking to class and kind of, having like the physical space really indicate that you're at school.
Yeah, there isn't that ceremonial like, okay, class has started and now I go to class and I have that like routine down. It's just like we're in this constant state of neutral at home. And even though some of you have moved back into apartments near campus, it doesn't really change anything other than you're physically near campus, but that doesn't mean a lot. And a lot of students are still back home.
Right.
It's all over the place. I mean, we're, again, still at home and it's rough. So why don't we get out of the way and let this conversation happen? Everybody talk about this process of taking courses online and how we're going to get through this rest of the year. And we'll see you on the other side.
Welcome, everyone, to the podcast. We just finished our first week of school, so I'm super excited to be chatting with some of our friends to sort of check in and see how a very different way of going to school is going with all remote classes. So maybe first off, if everyone can just introduce themselves. I'm Audrey, of course, and I host and work on the podcast along with Luz. Luz, do you want to start it off with a little introduction? Probably just your name, your major, where you're from, what year you are.
Yeah. Hi again, everybody. My name is Luz. I'm a senior studying computer engineering and computer science, and I'm from Bill Gardens, California, but I'm currently doing Zoom University from Los Angeles alongside Prathik here.
Awesome.
Prathik, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Luz. My name is Prathik. I'm also a senior studying computer science and computer engineering. I am from Cupertino, California, but I am taking Zoom University from right off campus. Yeah, that's it for me. Allison.
Awesome. Thanks, Pratik. Yeah, Allison?
Yeah, I'm Allison. I am a senior studying biomedical engineering and future cinema. And I'm currently living in my family's home where I've been most of the summer in Palos Verdes, which is just outside of LA. So still kind of close, hoping to see some friends in outdoor distance settings, but still hanging out at home for now.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm from Denver, so I just drove out to LA and I'm around campus as well. But of course, as we've all said, we're all Zooming into our classes. So to get it started, I guess just how's everyone doing with I think a pretty major adjustment in our learning, even though, of course we finished last semester online, but I think it's really different starting a semester online and never meeting a lot of the people in your classes and professors. So yeah, just how is everyone?
I feel a little better than I did last semester. And I think the reason why is because last semester we went online halfway through. And so we were always like, why can't it go back to normal? Why can't it go back to normal? And so this semester is very different because we've gone into it with the mindset of, all right, I've already accepted that this is going to be a fully online semester. Some people say, let me get the best out of it. Some people are just content with being unhappy. I'm definitely of the let's make the best out of it. So I think that's why this experience, at least from the 1 week we've been, has been a little more positive than last semester.
So I guess for me, same thing. I do feel a little more on top of it in the sense that, I could organize better for an online semester. I have my Google Calendar with all my different Zoom links, and I just click on them when it's time. And I know where everything is, so I don't have to walk around everywhere in this 90-degree heat in LA, which is, I guess, one good thing that we got from an online semester. We're not walking around during a heat wave. But I will say that sometimes it can be difficult because it's just, you have to work so much harder to be engaged in Zoom. There's tons of distractions at home. So I've been using some techniques blocking browser, certain websites using browser extensions, and just being better about managing my distractions at home. So forced me to be a better student, I think it really is. But
putting your phone
it can
away
be a
during
little
lecture.
tiring. Yeah, putting my phone away. That's a novel concept for me.
That is so smart. I should take some of your advice there, Luz, because I struggle with the same thing, and it's hard to stay focused in the Zoom ones. But how about for you, Allison? How was the first week for you?
Yeah, the first week starting off was a bit overwhelming. I have most of my classes stacked on Tuesday and Thursday, so being in Zoom for many hours straight is a challenge, but I have found that it is more flexible in terms of sort of how you structure your day, and you don't have as much travel time, which gives you a bit more time. But I do miss the uncertainty, I think, of just going out on campus, and you'll never know who you'll run into and what'll happen in that day. So that's something I do miss, and just seeing familiar faces in a more casual setting is something that is lacking in Zoom world. But have been sort of building group chats and texts with friends to make up for the lack of that camaraderie. And I think something that I do miss is being able to be physically active and moving around on campus. And so I'm trying to just do a lap of around the block between every Zoom call that I have to sort of reset.
Oh man, I miss the gym so much. So much.
Talk about this.
Luz is my gym buddy. Gym buddy and roommates. We had such an ideal plan.
So worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally feel that. It's sitting all day is probably one of the hardest parts for me, because exactly like Allison said, when you have class on campus, you have that 10-minute break in between. You have a 10-minute break in between classes to, walk to your next one. And it's just such a peaceful time where your only goal is walking to class, and we don't have that anymore. So I like the walking around the block.
I really miss the 2 minutes of podcasts you would listen to on your way to class.
Yeah.
You'd plug in your earphones and you would hear nothing.
You're in your own world.
So noisy,
yeah.
And there's so much shuffling. You're in your own world for 3 minutes, and then you pop out the other side and you're in class. That's something I didn't think about.
Yeah. Sad. Well, We, like Pratik said, I think we are like all definitely overwhelmed, but like trying to make the best of it. So I'm curious next, like what are the formats of your classes? If you're in like labs or anything like that, like how is it working for you guys? Is it all Zoom or?
I actually have an interesting, so multiple of my classes I've switched to this asynchronous learning where the professors record a lecture, make that lecture available for a 24-hour period. So that kind of removes the whole problem of different time zones. And then we have the whole day to watch the lecture. And I really like that. I really, really like that. I honestly wish they did that all the time, because it removes the necessity of me to like, I have to be focused at this time on this day. And it's hard to, it's easier to do that when you're not at home because you're going somewhere, you're like in a new environment, a learning environment. It's a lot easier for you to, step in that mode. But if you just got out of bed, it's hard to just go into that mode. So it's nice that I can schedule it for when I'm like ready to really watch the lecture in that 24-hour time period. So that's one big difference that I've actually really liked.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool. What about for you, Luz? How are your classes working?
Yeah, so a lot of them are pretty typical in the sense that lecture and then there's some sort of online lab component. But I have one GE that is actually doing something interesting. They do have like the lectures posted like asynchronously as well, like Prathik, but they also like use lecture time to like get a smaller group of students together and use it as like a second discussion. And just so we can interact with the actual professor. So that was really neat. And, it allows me, again, to engage with content at a time where I feel good and ready, as long as, you're disciplined about it, because there is such a thing as like, binging lectures before a midterm or assignment due, which isn't fun. But like if you're disciplined about it, I definitely do think it's like really neat in the sense that I can choose when I choose to engage with content. And, I can have more flexibility with my schedule, more so than when I had it in person. So that's
Sure.
definitely a benefit as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. For Allison, what about for you?
Yeah, so I've noticed that it does depend. Some of my classes are you have to be present in that given class, but they are recorded, which is helpful. So yes, I think some of the lectures are more accessible in that you have them recorded, you can rewatch them, but others have had discussion sections where I have to be there or else they don't record and they don't supply the slides after. So in that way, I think they're trying to motivate us to show up and be present in discussion. And in lab format, I have a molecular biology lab where we are using Labster, which is kind of a gamified version of lab where we just sort of show up and go through this game situation, and it's all simulation. And so far it's been pretty interactive, but I'm not sure how it'll work through the rest of the semester. But I think the balance of all of those has been pretty good. And so far, one of our professors actually asked the class, do you prefer this format or in person? And everyone pretty much said in person. But I think that might evolve over the course of the semester because of the added flexibility. And the students, I think, so far have enjoyed that.
Yeah, definitely. It is kind of cool having the flexibility of it. Also, like you can take class from anywhere and stuff like that. That's a good thing, I guess. But the labs, that's obviously tough, but it's cool that they're at least using some different software to kind of emulate the experience instead of because that's hard, you can't if you're not doing it in person. But so I guess on that, in terms of like engaging with your classes and like I guess getting back to school and studying, I kind of just want to talk about like maybe like the challenges you've experienced on that end and perhaps the not triumphs, but the like your accomplishments too with classes. I know for me, I think this first week it's been really hard to like kind of convince myself that we're back at school since there's no I just logged on to Zoom for my first class, right? So yeah, what have your guys' challenges been this week with classes? Pratik, I see you unmuted yourself. Do you want to go for it?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've done that's made this process a little easier is I really put a lot of effort into setting up my home workstation, right? Like I bought a new desk. I have like all of my technology set up very specifically, trying to make it as close to a work environment as possible. That way, at least, because like we were talking about before, the kind of change of scenery that we're so used to when we're working at a company or we're going to classes on campus, it's important to try and emulate that change of scenery as much as possible, even if it's just the difference of you getting up and walking over to your desk, but just having, a station where it's like, this is where I'm going to work. And then the bed is where I'm going to sleep. The couch is where I'm going to chill, and not blurring the lines between those two kind of helps give the same feeling of, I'm going to work, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm ready to work.
For sure. That's great. What about anyone else? Has anyone done? I haven't set up my workspace, so I should do that. I'm learning so much myself, but yeah, what about Luz and Allison?
I can also sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say I've done a similar thing, and I've used the same work environment that I used during my internship and sort of designated my room as my working area, and then interact with my family outside of this space, but they kind of know that this is the do not disturb area, and I really tend to focus here and then spend time with them outside of it. But it is weird because we're still in this summer mode in a way, and it's hard to notify people and notify yourself that it's time to sort of switch into work mode without the physical setting also encouraging that. So I do think we'll get into the swing of it, but it is a weird transition time for everyone right now.
Definitely, that makes sense. What about for you, Luz?
Yeah, I just wanted to second like that change of scenery bit. Like I got a new desk too, and it's like my favorite thing ever, even if it took me like a day to build. So I really enjoy, sometimes being able to scooch into my corner and like, shut down and, go into my work mode. I guess for me, something that's really, really helped is time blocking. So time blocking is basically when you just like tell yourself or set it on the calendar, like, oh, I'm going to do X thing at Y time. And I think that really helps, especially with like, how easy it is for people to plan meetings on Zoom. And they're like, oh, you have this 1 hour block between 3 other hours of work. You're totally free to do a meeting right now, right? And I'm like, technically, yes. Emotionally, I'm exhausted. So, putting things in my calendar for like when I want to chill or like when I want to do homework helps me organize my day, and also like gives, I guess, stricter guidelines for when to put stuff on my calendar. So I have better control over how much time I'm spending in the digital world, and, can give myself that kind of like context switch, pace myself, because we're going to have a semester of this. So you don't want to get burned out on Zoom too quickly.
For sure. Yeah, that's super important. Zoom fatigue is definitely real. So I guess kind of just to wrap up, is there anything that anyone is like looking forward to in this semester? Like what's your outlook on this semester? Obviously it's not the senior year all of us imagined, but I guess there's probably still some good we can squeeze out of it. So what about Luz, for you first? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, this is going to sound cheesy, but I'm really excited to be living in this apartment with my roommate, Prathik. I think, we have a lot of the same interests, and we're taking a lot of the same classes too. So that's like like an actual physical study buddy I can have. So that's exciting. Also, I get my own room for the first time in college, and my cat is here.
Shout out to the cat.
I'm just excited for the change of scenery. Shout out to our cat, Tapatio. She makes Zoom classes just a little bit more bearable sometimes, and she's on my lap right now.
She's made all my Zoom calls with you, Luz, amazing. So yeah, definitely the cat's amazing. What about you, Allison?
I am really looking forward to independent research, actually. I'm doing some research in augmented reality, and the outside area near where I live is more diverse, I would say, than on campus in some ways. And it's definitely a great backdrop to build some of this work on. So I think there's more versatility and excitement in that realm, and excited to have more flexibility in the schedule, like I was saying earlier, to pursue that independent research. And I also think on the bright side of things, people I've seen in classes so far tend to be more willing to ask questions and speak up than I think some are in class, either using the chat function or just sort of interjecting. So I think that's been something positive. People feel more comfortable maybe being anonymous or having their screen off or something. They feel more comfortable just speaking up and asking questions. So that's something good in this learning environment, and hopefully we'll make the most of it.
Definitely. And what about you, Pratik?
I definitely want to second the whole people are more comfortable asking questions. I've seen that in my lectures where it's like, if we were in person, since I'm friends with a lot of the people in our classes, I could specifically pinpoint, like, this person is definitely not confident enough to ask this question during lecture. So it's nice to see that, like, this anonymity is helping people, break out of the shell and ask questions. So I want to second that. And then in terms of, for me, what I'm excited for, I also do a lot of research. Like I mentioned before, I was just at a research meeting before this. So I'm very excited for that. I'm also a teaching assistant for a machine learning class. And from like the teaching staff perspective, I'm really happy that a lot of the professors have kind of reduced their course loads a little bit. A, because of coronavirus, and also B, just because we have a shorter semester this semester, which is another thing that's kind of making this a little easier to bear, is knowing that we're going to be done in November. We're not going to leak into December the way we normally do. So definitely there's excitement for me that the teaching staff is kind of getting a little more lenient with their assignments and how many assignments and how many exams, things like that, and my research as well. Very excited for that. I think one thing that this whole experience has done is really taught people, like, what is your priority? Like, when you have literally nothing else to do, what do you choose to put your time into? And it's really brought to light, like, what's important to me, and what I see taking forward. Because obviously once everything goes back to normal, hopefully not all of the bad habits that I'd gotten rid of during this time are going to come back. Only the good ones will stay.
Definitely. Well, such great insight. Thank you all. I hope everyone is staying safe at home. And I'm looking forward to senior year with all of you. And it'll definitely be different, but I know we'll make the best of it. So thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. Well, welcome back. I'm glad to get to chat with some fellow students about their experience, because I think that's another thing that's super important too. Like, we're all kind of in this together, even though we're not in the same classroom. I think a lot of us feel like, oh, am I the only one that feels a little behind or confused on this or something? But I think we all feel a little bit like that, and I'm sure that's true for high school students as well. So I'm really excited to have the opportunity to sort of share that with everyone.
Yeah, keep supporting one another, keep making sure everybody's okay. I'm glad to hear that recruiting events are still going on, albeit virtually, so that's good. And it's great to hear that there's still stuff kind of happening as best we can, but it's, again, not great. And hopefully everyone's going to one another, and hopefully we'll be out of this as soon as we possibly can, because I don't think anybody likes doing this anymore.
I think we'll make the best of it though. So
yeah. All right, well, everybody, hang in there wherever you are. I hope everyone's staying safe. If you ever need anything from us in the admission process, go check out the website, viterbiadmission.usc.edu, and check out all of our events we got going on. And after this episode, we're going to be putting up another live chat recording for you. It'll be coming out as a bonus episode this week, so stay tuned.